Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have the mysterious beam. Pretty recently, scientists explained that they captured a mysterious beam of energy that was coming from the star that is the closest known star to the Sun, Proxima Centauri. This star is small and low mass and is located around 4.2 million light years away from us. The thing about this star is that it has one rocky exoplanet that is 17% larger than Earth in its habitable zone, which would make liquid water a possibility on the planet. This planet's habitability has been disputed throughout the years, but this signal could be a sign that it may be even more habitable than any of us know. Scientists explained that the signal shifted while it was being observed, which mimicked the shift caused by the movement of a planet. They're taking extra precautions to figure out what exactly caused this shift in case it was a sort of mundane source. It will of course take some time to figure out, but it's all very exciting. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Venus cloud. Last year in September of 2020, astrobiologists everywhere were excited and skeptical of some new potential evidence that had been found in the upper clouds of Venus. The new findings were pointing to the potential presence of phosphine in these clouds. Phosphine is a rare and usually poisonous gas that on Earth is basically always met with the presence of living organisms. Venus hasn't really been the top of the list of choices for finding potential life due to its surface temperature and pressure and the sulfuric acid clouds, but this evidence could prove to say something otherwise. It is one of those findings that really forces us outside of the box on what we have previously thought alien life could look like. Two separate telescopes were able to pick up the signatures of phosphine in a cloud that had a similar temperature and pressure to Earth. While this isn't concrete evidence of space bugs, it will at least be a reminder that we should be continuing to look for life even in the most unlikely places. And hey, maybe it is space bugs. In our number 8 spot today, we have Europa. One of Jupiter's moons, called Europa, has a red tinge to it, and in 2001, NASA scientists revealed that it's possible that alien microbes might be responsible for this red color. The surface of this moon is mostly ice, but it has been shown that it reflects infrared radiation in a bizarre way. This means that something is binding it together, but researchers haven't been able to come up with the correct combination of elements and compounds to make the data make sense. There are some bacteria on Earth that can thrive in extreme conditions and that also have that red and brown color, which could potentially be responsible for the color on this moon. The surface temperature might be too cold for them to survive, but the warmer interior might be where they are located. Some geological activity on the moon could then push them closer to the surface where they are flash frozen in place. In our number 7 spot today, we have Titan. Many space agencies have turned their main focus on the search for extraterrestrial life, from advanced intelligent life forms to more primitive and smaller life forms, and that starts with the smallest organisms and microbes. To help with this study and process, NASA is preparing a $4.25 billion mission to Europa, which is the Jupiter moon that we just talked about, since scientists believe it holds that strong potential for alien microbes under its icy surface. This study is aiming to be launched in 2024, which is quickly approaching, but there is another mission also in the works that is focusing on another moon that we haven't yet spoken about, and that is the moon of Saturn called Titan. In 2027, they are aiming to launch the $1 billion Dragonfly mission to this moon in order to analyze the lakes of liquid methane that exist on Titan. A planetary scientist at Johns Hopkins University who studies alien atmospheres named Sarah Horst has said that they believe Titan has all the ingredients necessary for life, so it certainly is a promising mission. We may have to wait until 2027, but who knows? Maybe we'll find signs even before then with all of the upcoming missions and technological advancements. In our number 6 spot today, we have light shifts. In the later half of 2015, a Penn State astronomer named Jason Wright explained that there were pretty erratic and spontaneous shifts in the light that was coming from a newly discovered star. This star sits about 1,280 light years away from us on Earth, and these shifts were very similar to as if something was passing in front of our view of the star briefly before passing through. Scientists weren't able to connect this to any exoplanets or anything like that, which we could understand, and this is what led Jason to quite an interesting theory. He stated that it is possible that the shifts are caused by massive objects passing in front of the star in like a kind of orbit. like an array of massive satellites or a similar kind of structure, like the type of thing that would be produced by an intelligent and civilized life form. Again, like many things, it's just a theory, but a very compelling one at that. In our number 5 spot today, we have the USS Princeton UFO. This UFO sighting comes from 2004. On November 14th of that year, the USS Princeton noticed an unknown aircraft of some sort that was about 100 miles off of the coast of San Diego. For 2 weeks prior to this, the crew had been tracking a strange flying object that would start out at around 80,000 feet before extremely quickly dropping to hover right above the Pacific Ocean. Black Aces Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate of Strike Fighter Squadron 41 went over in 2 fighter jets in order to kind of scope out the situation, and when they arrived, they saw what at first appeared to be churning water, while there was an oval shape just below the surface. After this, a white oval-shaped object appeared above the water, but it had no markings on it. Like, no windows, nothing that would indicate an engine, no wings, and the infrared monitors on the jets didn't pick up any sort of exhaust. The commander and lieutenant commander tried to intercept this strange aircraft, but it very quickly flew away and reappeared on the monitor 60 miles away. Like, when I say quickly, I mean it was moving at 3 times the speed of sound and over twice the speed of fighter jets. So faster than any kind of technology we currently have. We still don't know exactly what this was, but I'm sure a lot of us are probably thinking the same thing. In our number 4 spot today, we have methane on Mars. As we all know, we are constantly looking at Mars and searching for not only the potential for a new planet for us to live on, but also potential signs of alien life that may already exist there, or perhaps evidence of a past alien existence. In 2004, we might have found some evidence that would suggest this is a strong possibility, and that is the discovery of methane gas in the atmosphere of Mars. In that year, 3 separate groups all independently reported the finding of methane gas, and considering almost all of the methane in Earth's atmosphere is produced by bacteria and other life, this was extremely promising for scientists. There are other possibilities for the methane, such as the thawing of frozen underground deposits, or it could be generated by volcanism, but whatever the cause, it would have to be recent, since it would either be destroyed quickly on Mars, or it will escape into the rest of space. To potentially strengthen this point, in 2005 scientists also announced that they may have found evidence of formaldehyde, which was produced by the oxidation of methane. If this is true, that will only strengthen the case for the potential microbes to be found on the planet. The good news is that while all of these potential signs came from almost 20 years ago, and there wasn't the technology to prove any of these claims, we now have the technology actually on the planet digging in the soil, and we are much closer to getting real answers about what is going on Mars than we ever have been before. In our number 3 spot today, we have OMUA. Okay, so this is one piece of evidence that actually has scientists fighting over what is going on with it. A few years ago, scientists all agreed that we had found an object that was flying through our solar system, and they called it OMUA, and it was widely agreed that it was an interstellar comet that had swung out from around another star. But upon closer examination, they realized that something was propelling it and causing it to accelerate, and this is when the debate started, because they just don't really know why. Avi Loeb, who's a Harvard University astrophysicist, proposed the idea that rather than a comet, this could be an alien probe that is being pushed by a light sail, which is a very wide but extremely thin piece of material that accelerates by being pushed by solar radiation. Other scientists didn't agree with this, and instead said that it's possible that hydrogen ice could have melted off of the object in a way that would mimic a rocket engine or something of that nature, but in August of last year, Avi wrote in a study that hydrogen ice is too easily heated and it would have melted off long before it reached our solar system. I guess we just have to wait it out while the scientists debate and gather more evidence to really know what's going on behind this one. In our number 2 spot today, we have radio signals. Throughout the years of space exploration, we have received a ton of signals that we just can't quite explain, so I want to talk about 2 of the main ones today. The earliest one came in 1977 when a radio telescope at The Ohio State University picked up a pulse of radiation that was very unusual because of the fact that it was in a band of radio frequencies that are internationally banned on Earth. The signal lasted for 37 seconds, and it has been commonly referred to as the WOW signal because of the fact that the astronomers observing it were so shocked at the time that they wrote WOW on the printout from the telescope. The nearest star in the direction it was coming from is 220 million light years away, so it must have either come from a huge astronomical event or intelligent alien life with a very powerful transmitter who are trying to contact us. The second unexplained signal came in 2003 when astronomers were using a massive telescope to re-examine 200 areas of space where they had once detected unexplained radio signals. During this, they found that all of the previously detected signals had disappeared, except for one. This one signal not only didn't disappear, but it only got stronger. The signal is coming from between the constellations of Pisces and Aries, and the curious thing about this location is that it resides in a place where there are no known obvious planets or stars. There are scientists who believe that this is the frequency alien life would be most likely to use if they were trying to contact us. So while there are other possibilities of what these signals are or where they are coming from, it is quite an interesting piece of information and something that definitely deserves more looking into. In our number 1 spot today, we have astronaut sightings. We can sit here all day on Earth and talk about the potential for alien life, but who would know more than the people who have actually been to space, which are of course astronauts. Definitely on the list of coolest and scariest jobs in the entire world, there haven't been a ton of people who have had the unbelievable privilege of experiencing space firsthand, but there are even less of them who have claimed to see something that could potentially be proof of alien existence. People who have claimed these sorts of things include Edgar Mitchell, Catherine Coleman, and Dr. Brian O'Leary. The very interesting part about many of these claims is that they also include some sort of government cover-up as well with their claims. There was also Buzz Aldrin, who spoke out about his Apollo 11 experience, and he detailed the crew seeing something flying alongside them, and at first they believed it was the final stage of a detached rocket, but then Mission Control confirmed that it was actually 6,000 miles away from them, leaving them with no answers on what the flying object could actually be. I can't imagine going to space at all, let alone encountering a UFO flying right beside you. Also, I can't believe I hadn't heard of that story before, because to me, that sounds like full-blown alien contact. Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have habitable planets. Let's start off today's video by talking about habitable planets. It is of course possible that there is life out there that could survive on planets that we would not be able to live on because we don't know what kinds of conditions could be conducive to alien life, but we can start out by searching for planets that have conditions similar to our wonderful Earth, because that is, after all, what we currently know best, and it is conditions we know can host life. So that's what scientists did. Not that long ago, it was believed that Earth was a bit of an anomaly in terms of its seemingly perfect conditions, but with more and more research and technological advancements, we know that that is far from the truth. A habitable planet has to meet requirements, like being in what is called the Goldilocks zone, which means it's not too close or too far from a star like we are with the sun. It needs to be warm enough that water isn't just ice, but cold enough that life can exist without being burnt up. You know, just the very general basics for life as we know it. Well, what we once thought was an anomaly is unbelievably common. We now know that around 1 in every 5 or 6 planets would be considered habitable and could potentially be hosting life as we know it. Considering it is thought that there is an exoplanet for every star in our galaxy, the number of habitable planets is huge. This doesn't mean these are the only options for planets that could be hosting life either. So with this knowledge, it is easy to draw the conclusion that life beyond ours is an extreme possibility, and maybe we just haven't had enough time to find it yet. In our number 9 spot today, we have they may already be here. We have to throw in a point for the conspiracy theorists out there, so this one is for you guys. This is just the theory that maybe we can't find aliens because they're already walking among us. I can't quite explain the logistics of this one because I'm neither an alien nor have I had some alien dressed in human clothing reveal themselves to me, but I can't speak for everyone, and there really are people who believe that this could be a possibility. I know a lot of us would be quite frightened of aliens if we did find concrete proof of their existence, which is a totally fair response, and it might be likely that they're also afraid of us as well. And if they are more intelligent than us and were able to find us first, they might just be testing out the waters to see what humans really think of them before letting us in on their secrets or whatever cool things they know that we don't. So if you meet a stranger who starts asking you a bunch of questions about aliens, maybe think twice next next time. In our number 8 spot today we have ancient sightings. With the amount of technology right at our fingertips in the world of Photoshop and deepfakes and people who are just trying to get their 5 minutes of fame, it's hard to tell what is real and what is fake anymore, and it's easy to write off what someone claims they experienced. But what about in the times before all of that existed? I'm talking about the ancient times when flying objects didn't exist here on Earth yet and no one was trying to get followers on their Instagram page. Throughout our history there have been many claims of alien sightings or encounters, but some of these claims come from ancient paintings and writings. I mean, let's take the 15th century painting The Madonna with Saint Giovannino as an example. The painting depicts the Virgin Mary, but in the background it also has some sort of hovering disc-like object that looks suspiciously like a UFO. This is just one example of these ancient sightings, but there appears to be otherworldly beings in things like cave paintings and Sanskrit scrolls, and some people even swear it is written in the book of Ezekiel. So of course I realize this isn't concrete proof of the existence of aliens, but it definitely is compelling evidence. It either shows we've been visited by aliens before, or that humans have always had a knack for making things up. In our number 7 spot today we have the geoglyphs. A lot of us have seen or at least heard of the geoglyphs at some point or another, but if you haven't, they are massive drawings carved into the earth and rock, and they appear all over the world in every culture, with the most famous example being that of the Nazca lines in Peru. Using that example, many people believe they may have been a sign of alien life due to the sheer size and variety of them, or perhaps the works of old men which can be found in Jordan. These have been described as stone-built structures that are far more numerous than the Nazca lines, far more extensive in the area they cover, and far older. This is all just to say that many of these works are so clear and precise and large that it leaves people wondering how this could have even been possible without some sort of bird's eye view. We get to enjoy them because we have the technology to see them from high enough above now, but when they were first created there wasn't the technology yet, so why and how could they have been created? I'm just gonna say it. Aliens. In our number 6 spot today we have the Antikythera Mechanism. The Antikythera Mechanism is an extremely mysterious discovery that has stumped researchers ever since it was found. This artifact was found 150 feet below the surface of the Aegean Sea in a shipwreck and is the oldest kind of computer ever recorded, as it was dated back to the 7th century BCE. The author David Childress likened the finding to it if they had found a jet plane in King Tut's tomb. That's how bizarre this discovery really was. Due to the complexity and oddity of the finding, alien enthusiasts have believed for quite some time that it may have been technology that was passed down from some sort of superior being, so aliens. When the artifact was recreated in order to learn about the mysteries it holds, the mechanism was able to calculate the position and running time of each planet. How would they have been able to create this without the use of sophisticated astronomical tools? I'm not saying this is concrete proof of alien, but this, coupled with the ancient sightings we already talked about, there has definitely got to be something else at play here. In our number 5 spot today we have the fact that they might have died off. This one is a bit disappointing to be honest, but it's basically just a theory that it's probably pretty likely that there were aliens at some point, but since the universe is so old, they might have already died out. All lives and cultures rise and fall, and researchers put together a model last year that would give more insight into the likelihood of this theory. They took things into account, like sun-like stars that are not too close or too far from planets that are similar to Earth, as well as how frequently there are deadly radiation blasting supernovas, which of course could prove to be a huge problem for life forms, as well as the time that it takes for intelligent life to evolve, provided all of the conditions are right. And once the evolution has taken place, how long it would take for a tool-bearing form of life to then destroy itself. That's a lot of factors to consider, and through all of this it was found that the highest likelihood of life before ours in the Milky Way emerged around 5.5 billion years ago, which would place that before our planet was even formed. This of course would have provided plenty of time for all of the events I just mentioned to have occurred. I do hope that this one isn't true though, because I hope that there are aliens out there. In our number 4 spot today we have this bacterial experiment. We started off today's list by talking about how we started our alien search by looking at planets that exist under similar conditions to ours, and while this is a really good place to start, this kind of inside the box thinking might not really get us anywhere when it it comes to the search for alien life because we don't know what kind of conditions are going to be suitable for them. On Earth, most living creatures require oxygen to live, but the problem with that is that most planets have far more hydrogen and helium than oxygen. Last year, scientists decided to take two different bacteria. One was E. coli, which can be found in the guts of humans, and the other was ordinary yeast, which is used in things like bread and beer. With these two bacteria, they tried to see if they could live in different environments. When placed within flasks that contained either pure hydrogen or pure helium, they still managed to grow, just at a slower pace. This evidence goes to show that there might be living organisms that we haven't found yet because we are just looking in the wrong places. In our number 3 spot today, we have this radiation-proof bacteria. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video so far. In 2002, Russian astrobiologists hypothesized that a bacteria here on Earth may have actually evolved on Mars. Deinococcus radiodurans is the most tough bacteria on Earth. It can withstand even the most extreme conditions such as cold, dehydration, vacuum, and acid, but the craziest part is that it's virtually radiation proof. These little microbes can withstand several thousand times the amount of radiation a human can withstand, as well as more radiation than any other bacteria on Earth. You could even find this bacteria on the inside of a nuclear reactor. Scientists did an experiment to see how quickly this bacteria could build up a stronger radiation resistance by zapping the bacteria with enough radiation to kill 99.9% of it, and then leaving the remaining 0.01% to repopulate before zapping it again and repeating the process. It was concluded that it would have taken E. coli thousands and thousands of rounds to build up the same resistance that this hardy bacteria did in only 44 rounds. With this experiment, and based on the dose of radiation they gave each bacteria, it would take millions and millions of years to get even close to the amount of radiation they gave the bacteria in one cycle. Since Earth just doesn't carry that amount of radiation, it has led some scientists to speculate that since Mars is virtually unprotected and receives extremely high amounts of radiation, these bacteria may have evolved on Mars and gained their resistance in just a few 100,000 years, and then they may have been flung off of Mars by an asteroid and then brought to Earth on meteorites. It certainly is just a hypothesis at this point, but really, how else can we explain this random superpowered bacteria that is unlike any else on our Earth? I know these bacteria aren't the signs of alien life we were expecting and hoping for, but any alien life is exciting no matter how small. In our number 2 spot today, we have fossilized microbes. This is a piece of evidence that came from 1996 and is said to have come all the way from Mars as well. 25 years ago, scientists said that they had potentially found what appeared to be fossilized microbes in a lump of Martian rock. This rock was hypothesized to have come off of Mars after some sort of collision that the planet had, and then just casually floated around in space for some 15 million years before it ended up in Antarctica in 1984. You know, just the kind of things that happen in space. Once the rock was found and analyzed, it was found that it contained organic molecules and small specks of mineralized magnetite, which can sometimes be found in the bacteria on Earth. Once viewed with an electron microscope, there were signs of bacteria found. Of course, with anything like this, there will always be skeptics, and some have claimed that the magnetite wasn't that similar to those found in bacteria, and some claim that the signs of nanobacteria were just grown in a lab. I'm not a scientist, nor have I seen this Mars rock, so I obviously can't say who is telling the truth here, but what I can say is that neither the people who believe this rock came from Mars or those who claim it's fake can prove their point without any kind of doubt, so I'll just let you draw your own conclusions on this one. In our number 1 spot today, we have the 2021 UFO. To end off our list today, we have a trusty old UFO sighting that came from earlier this year. On February 21st, a blogger was using a radio scanner to try and pick up the feed from an aircraft when he received much more than ever expected. He intercepted the transmission of the wrong aircraft, but at the right time. As an American Airlines flight was headed from Cincinnati to Phoenix around 1:19 p.m., the pilot came on the radio to ask the question, "Do you have any targets up here? We just had something go right over top of us." After this, he followed up with, "I hate to say this, but it looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast right over top of us." Not only were the FAA air traffic controllers not able to see any object in the area on their radar scope, but but they still have been unable to identify exactly what it could have been. This does happen more often than any of us really know, and it is possible that the object could have been part of some covert military or navy operation, but it certainly raises some alarm bells that it was unable to be tracked in any sort of capacity. I wonder if this is one of those stories that will remain a mystery, or if one day we'll get some sort of answers as to what exactly happened here.